What do you love about being back in this musical?
I love being around my coworkers, honestly. Like to actually see someone and act with someone in person is like definitely something I took for granted like before. And now I just like we like bond a lot as a cast, like backstage, because we're doing something that, we didn't expect to do so soon. So we're having a good one.
It just feels a little soon, doesn't it? Like, were we all just like, this shit ain't happening for a while? Because it was just like 4 months ago that like there was another surge.
The producer called and like laid out all the like health safety that they're putting in place because of COVID. So basically, she called and told us that she like revamped the ventilation system in the theater with NASA grade like equipment. So we were like,
NASA grade equipment.
okay, sold. And then she said the entire cast and crew and staff is going to be vaccinated. Um, and then the audience is masked and in pods. So no one's like, everyone's 6 feet away from each other and separated by tape. So
Like we are sort of becoming like little film directors at this point. I feel like we've done enough work in front of a camera that like we have to like really take big responsibility for like what we submit now in a way that's like a bit heavier than like it was before.
I'm still having like a hard time with the self tapes. It's like not as natural because now I get to play back everything and really judge myself and then try to do it again and then try to do it again and then eventually I just give up. It's not really the experience I love because I do enjoy walking into a room full of people and just a one and done kind of thing, like where you just give it your all without getting to like really analyze it and then moving on to the next thing. Whereas now I get to see those tapes all the time.
During any crisis, the creative spirit, it like either sustains itself by adapting or persisting. And like, you don't fuck with Zoom, you don't have to, but like, it's sort of a way to stay engaged with the world. So did you like feel inclined to continue collaborating with people, even if it was through Zoom through this time?
At first, I was doing like a ton of self tapes and auditions because people thought we were coming back that summer.
Uh,
And I even got my next job for that summer. And then, like, a week later, they were like, sorry. And I was like, ooh. I was like,
wow.
this is going to be a little bit longer than I expected.
I think a lot of the artists that thrive in theater, so sure on Broadway, but also commercially off Broadway and in other pockets, are realizing they can make more money and be respected more in television. And like, it's a horrible thing to say, but like when crises like this happen, I mean, yes, there were times, periods where like TV and film had to stop filming to so that the numbers could lower. But once they did, they got right back on that shit.
My friend was working as a PA, like, starting, I guess, like September.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just, like, got right into it. And I was like, wow, like, things are picking up there.
I saw that like you fuck with Barry, and I'm so glad to see that because I heavily fuck with Barry. I was curious to see why you fuck with it.
I mean, it's so good. It's such a great concept, Like I had a friend who's been telling me to watch it and I just had been like blowing it off up until like the pandemic and I got to like sit down and actually just be like, okay, here's all the TV shows she's told me to watch and I just haven't done it. And Barry was one of them and I just binged like right through it because it was so funny. Like the idea of this hitman wanting to be an actor, like, and like the jokes were, my sister didn't get it. She was watching the show too. She tried. She gave her full effort, and she just didn't get it. But I think part of it was because there were a lot of like theater jokes.
You went to Syracuse. I actually have a lot of fam at Syracuse besides Kara. When did you graduate?
2019.
Yeah, so I know there is like a lot of conversations going on like about the changes that need to happen there, right?
We had a huge we were, that was happening. We had those conversations like every year about like what we feel and like the that we wanted teachers of color. Like that was a big one. We didn't have many um at the time. I actually have no idea what it's like right now, but it was really exciting. I watched the Syracuse showcase this year and I was like, I'm so glad they shared like everyone that wanted to be a part of it. It was incredible. It was so good. I mean, they're so talented. I was like, whoa.
Fuck, they're coming for my job.
No kidding. But like I'm very excited to see. to see more inclusion and like and see the changes that are coming forward because of this conversation. I mean, a lot of like leaders have been posting their we are inclusive, we are actively working, and I really just want to see that come into.
It is really important to see like these colleges change things because so many unhealthy habits are built in conservatories.
Yeah, it's kind of sometimes it's like, ugh, but then also like some people get through and like they make it on their own and like and then they know people and then they do, you know what I mean? Like I think it's a process. I think like it's a nice happy medium between the two where it's like, no, your work should speak for yourself sometimes. Like you did a good job with this director. Like why wouldn't they hire you again? You know?
Hmm.
And then the other times I'm like, okay, but they're auditioning still to like meet new people. So it's never just like, I guess it's never just that easy as like being like, it's always people you know. It's like networking is great, but these people that are in the room with you, your classmates, are gonna be like really essential to you developing as like an actor because they're the people that are gonna like help bring you up. Your friends are gonna be the people that are like recommending you, you know, and that really like stuck with me because like in the production itself, like with this show, like if a friend is leaving, like we love our writers, we know them, and they let us like submit headshots and resumes, you know what I mean, of our friends to like bring on into the cast if we wanted it to. It's really exciting because I actually really didn't understand how collaborative this form is to the extent that it is, right? Like it gets really close to like someone calls you and you're like, oh yeah, they're awesome to work with, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's literally it.
and that's sometimes the make or break between like getting a job and not, you know.
It's unbelievable. I honestly have loved doing that lately. I'm working with our producer Ryan on like some projects and the like opportunity to be able to bring people in who like are my friends and like we get to act together. And yeah, it is over Zoom, but like sometimes like the script that we're working on is just so good that like it doesn't even matter. I literally feel like I'm in it's like creating a utopia for yourself in a way.
I do think people are very open into meeting new people. I just think sometimes like it's an easy way to just go with someone you know, you know.
It's absolutely, and like I know casting directors like some of them the way they work is like, oh no, I have to really see you audition for me like billion times to like
Yeah,
really give you the chance. And it's like, oh really? But like if the work I'm doing is dope now, and they're like, oh well, I don't know you. It's like, what are you talking about?
yeah, I did hear
Here I
that.
am.
I've been here the whole time. Yeah.
Bro, I waited 3 hours for this shit. My Book of Mormon journey has been like a little crazy because I got up at and I used to commute from Long Island. I don't really do that now. Obviously, there's no auditions to commute to. I was like 220, and then some dude was like, I left my wallet. Who wants my number? Me. And that never happens to me. I never am the first to, my mind doesn't think that fast, but it did, like in this moment. And I got number 69. And I basically managed to get seen like maybe an hour and a half into this massive open call. And like I brought in my meatloaf song and like a belt in my face. And I had a callback for the Book of Mormon. Yeah, it's Stairmaster. Auditioning is like a Stairmaster.
One thing I didn't learn in college, like didn't really know about was EPAs and ECCs. I didn't I didn't get that. I didn't understand it. I went to New York and then someone was like, I'll take you to your first EPA. I was like, great. So like, what time are we meeting? And they were like, 3 a.m. And I was like, what? And then like no one told me that you're gonna if you're an EMC, you have to stand outside dead of winter and wait till like 8 a.m.
Where did you grow up? Did you grow up around snow and shit?
No, New Jersey.
Oh, okay, yeah. You know, but still, I understand that.
I don't know why no one explained that, you know? Like my bigs did, like when I got to the city, they like finally told me what that experience was gonna be like. But like in school, like we don't really talk about like how to get seen for an EPA and ECCs.
Yeah, it's really important that like people understand the business side of things and like there's so much business to if that's how you want to do shit. Like I said, there are like incredibly talented people who can like who have that endurance and can just like you fucking keep going and do that. I think I heard Will Ferrell say in like a commencement speech, shoot darts at the dartboard. Like that is the more times you take shots, like that's one of them has to happen. It's math. It's like how I make money at my job. That's how I make commission. Like if I don't call my leads constantly, like I'm
Yeah.
never gonna make money.
Everyone said like find your influence and then follow their track. So like there were people that wanted to follow Kelly O'Hara. There were people, and for me, I was like, where's the first generation South Asian musical theater person that I'm following? Who is that? And so that was like, you know what I mean? That was like, I just felt really blocked because I didn't know whose track to follow, Around that time, I think Cheech also booked Mean Girls playing Kevin James.
Just saw that dude in an interactive experience. It's so
Yes.
funny you said.
I am friends with him, and so for me, like that was like the closest thing to like seeing a South Asian American in the field that I want to be in on Broadway, doing a role that's South Asian. That was like really exciting to me. So like for me, it was that, but I was like, I also can't follow that track because he's a man. You know what I mean? And I was like, I can't sing those roles.
I obviously like it's not the same in any way, but the LA Times put out like a very pointed article saying how it's like almost the same. That there was a whole article about sizeism like in the industry and like how like larger people just like did not are just not looked at as like normal bodies in the industry.
That is genuinely ridiculous, I
It's
think.
it's inconceivable because it's funny. One of the things they said in this article was so many people that this person knows are like heavier people with like much more stamina.
You saw the New York Times article too that said like, well,
That was this inspiration for it. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, are you kidding me? He said like, oh, we're not gonna be able to get back into the industry so quickly because some of the actors have gained weight. After a year of a pandemic, that's the reflection he came out with. Like,
Uh, and to say, like they do hit the mark on other things, and I think we all have blind spots, what have you. I think it's just like people don't look at actors as like human beings, and I'm not going to be the one to hear, the prom had that was their moral at first, like not that accompanied like the greater moral about acceptance. It's like we are people, and like that was their entryway into like going into this town and this story. I think we're finally starting to see that so much of the stories told on television finally center like communities and people that look differently, whether they're like BIPOC communities or like people of like different sizes and shapes or what have you. And this is like on all the mediums, and still a frustration that like many people have with these stories that's finally starting to change was that yes, diversity, but it was mostly trauma based. And now we get to tell stories that uplift these communities. And I'm curious to see how you think like these if this will change, these stories will change from the pandemic.
I mean, I think what really helped was for the first time ever, like people could sit and reflect on their experiences and call people out, like call attention to the fact that some of these things were not okay. And I think because we were all not busy doing too many things, people were listening for the first time. People were taking in that information without just being like, yeah, that sucks. Okay, bye. I got to go to my next call back. You know what I mean? Like people were like sitting there really taking that information, actually processing it and being like, whoa, 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 that happened to you? That also happened to me. Like, let's talk about this and let's start this conversation where people can finally like sit back and take it in. That was something that I don't know if it would have happened like when like pre-pandemic.
No, would have been too busy. Everybody would have been busy.
People would be too busy booking to like really call attention to like the systematic problems with like this theater industry,
Yeah.
So like I think it was a really good time. I do actually believe that some people are working towards like creating change.
Rutherford Falls is a show on NBC on Peacock where basically it's created by Michael Shore and it's also created by this showrunner named Sierra Teller Ornelas. And she is like one of the first Native American showrunners in like cable history, I believe. And while yes, Ed Helms is the lead of this, it centers like him playing somebody whose like ancestors like a statue in the center of their town that like people just constantly like crash into because like they don't see it or something, or they're like texting for a second and then they just like and they're like, we should just take this down, and he's like, no, this is my legacy. And they're like, no, you founded this town with like everybody else in the cast, I should also say, is like Native American for the most part, and you'd never see that either. And like you don't get to see like Native Americans have like serious autonomy on television. That's what I'm hoping to see a lot more of, and that like sort of just has to happen.
I was like on Playbo and I saw like this new show that's coming out at Hola Playhouse. I think whoa, what is it called? La Jolla
Oh,
Playhouse.
La Jolla, yeah.
Sorry, I the L's and the A, and I just couldn't do it.
Good.
They have a world premiere of a new show called Bangin' It or Bangin' It about like a South Asian bongo dance team.
Oh.
I was like, what? It's like I've never seen I don't know if I've ever seen that many South Asians on a stage, like in a musical, you know? And that was like their casting call was like, it was really exciting. People are actively wanting to put a space for them. So that was like really exciting.
Yeah, and I think it's not even like, I think you're giving people a lot of credit. I think like they know that there is a disparity and they have a lot of blind spots. I'm telling you, if Michael Shore didn't ask this like incredible woman, Sierra Teller Ornelas, to like get involved, that like he would have no idea what the fuck he was doing, and he would fuck it all up, and everybody would hate him and write like heavy articles about him or medium articles or vulture articles. They would just like they would come for him. I like constantly am trying to like learn about the things I don't know and like cover my blind spots.
I also think it's okay to do it that way, where if you know that you might not be as educated and can't really figure out a way to do this, to call someone in that might have other ideas.
If there's anything we learned this year is that like power begets power. And I think that like it doesn't mean that because you're a person of color doesn't mean you don't have blind spots too.
I know. I hope we don't forget these conversations as soon as life picks back up. You know, I hope these are active conversations that will like continue to expand and grow till everyone gets it, you know, till everyone's like with it.
Honestly, if y'all are in New York, you should check out The Office, a musical parody. It's playing from Thursdays to Mondays.
Sunday.
Thursdays to Sundays. Just curious, I guess one of the last things I want to ask you about was like playing Kelly Kapoor, and like, you know, there, granted in musical theater there isn't a lot of like representation for like South Asian women like in roles, but I think Mindy Kaling is like sort of broke ground being that person.
Yeah, I mean, she was one of the first person I had seen on television as like a South Asian American actor. So that was like groundbreaking to me. And then from then on, getting the role and getting to play like her role was like just really exciting. You know, it's a great role. I relate a lot sometimes to it because, you know, there's a lot of things of my own culture I don't know. And she also brings that out in her own character as Kelly.
Yeah, do you have a like favorite episode of The Office?
I think it would be Dinner Party.
Oh my God.
So you know what I mean? It's like
Yes.
so comfortable that it's so good. Like you really do feel like you're in this really awkward like couples fight at like their dinner party.
It was like watching a train wreck. It really was. It was like watching a train hurtling off a cliff that like you knew it had to happen. And there's so many, it's such a well structured episode because there's so many hints like earlier on that like allude to all of the factors and the variables that lead to like this like domestic sort of opera that takes place, like the assistant's like song,
Yeah.
and then like the new TV, and then like The fact that like they're not cooking dinner at this dinner party.
And then they just like the guests just being like, I'm starving and I want to leave. Like, this is not a situation I wanted to put myself in, anyways. Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.